Hello, everyone, and welcome to We're Golden, a Golden Bachelor recap hosted by two golden women. I'm Kim Hodges, 60, and joined by
Jody Harrison Bauer, 63.
And we're going to give you the baby boomer insight to America's new favorite show, The Golden Bachelor. And today we have a special episode with Peggy Dercole, who was one of the bachelorettes on The Golden Bachelor.
Yes, and she is just charming and vibrant and beautiful inside and out.
And whoever she ends up with is a lucky fella. Anyway, welcome, Peggy.
Thank you for having me. It's really a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, we were so excited to have you on We're Golden, and we're hoping that you will give us the dirt.
Ooh.
I know. So I have the most obvious question here, which is why did you audition to be on The Golden Bachelor?
Well, after a lot of heartbreak in my life and loss, it came to 2018 where I really gave up on meeting the right person. And so at that point, I was done with dating apps. I was done trying to find the right person, going out to bars with my friends. And so I actually sent a video into thebachelor.com in 2018 saying that, because I watched this show since 21 years. And yes, and I was so tired of hearing the young women saying at 23 years old, I waited my whole life to find love, and they're crying. And I'm like, you have no idea what it's like to wait your whole life. So anyway, I sent the video in saying that wouldn't it be great to have an older competition of finding love? And that was in 2018. And I said, because it's harder for us to find love at this age. And I was 65 then, I turned 65 then. And I said, circumstances bring us to being alone. And we really, really deserve to find love. So I don't know if that had any influence at all. I would like to think so. But in 2019, a year and a half later, they announced on the Bachelor season that I was watching, they announced for seniors to apply. So my boss texted me because she knew what I did a year and a half ago. And she said, did you see that? And I said, I did, and I'm applying. So I did right away. And that was November of 2019. Then COVID hit. And of course, it was off the table. When they finally put the show back on in 2021, it was for younger people again who had a quarantine. And so we joked then. I said, they're probably afraid if they have us, we're going to die of COVID because we're old. So I said, it probably will never happen now. And then I said to her, my boss and friends, I said, well, I just hope we're not all dead by the time they decide to do it. Right. So now comes November of 22, and they announce it again. And I said, oh, good. So I applied again, 96 questions, second time, photos, but my photos were different now because it was later, and didn't hear anything. So February of 23, because I'm a very persistent person and go after what I want, I sent another application in just because, and more photos. And then in May, actually June 3rd, I went to a wedding and I was so disgusted. I was like,
so it was June 3rd, 2023.
Yes. And I came home early from the wedding because I went alone and I was disgusted going alone to big affairs. And I looked absolutely beautiful because it was a formal wedding. So the pictures I had taken at the wedding, I came home and I Googled it again, and they actually had a name now. It was called The Golden Bachelor. I was shocked that night. I said, they have a name. They're moving forward. So I sent in another 96 questions, answered them.
So Peggy, are you answering the questions differently every single time that you're filling out the forms?
Not really. I think they were all pretty similar, but my thoughts may have changed a little bit about what I was looking for over, the course of a few years.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So, but you know, my personality and all those type of questions were the same.
Yeah.
And so anyway, I sent those photos from the wedding, and 4 days later I get a call, and the rest is history. So I was like so excited to even go through the process. That was such an exciting time for me that I started in 2018. And so now with the casting company, I explained this to him because he asked me, why now? What made you do this same question? And he said, no. I said, I think I applied 4 times. And he said, no, it's actually 6 with your video.
Wow. I love
it. I love it.
I love the
all the photos right here. And I said, well, then you can see how I evolved over the past 5 years. So that's the funny part of the whole story. So I feel like I started it, maybe not, but maybe I put that idea in somebody's mind.
I bet you did.
I did.
You did. Yes. So I'm not sure. How long have you been single before you went on the show?
So I was divorced, and unfortunately, my soulmate, I was blessed to have my soulmate 2 years after my divorce. And Joe, he had a massive heart attack, my fiance, playing soccer, and he was 49 years old. So that was in 2000. And so it's almost 24 years.
Okay.
And then I had a relationship after that, because 2 years after Joe passed away, my friends were concerned I didn't have the spring in my step anymore. I wasn't a happy person. And I'm really a bubbly, happy person and energetic. And so they introduced me to someone who was wonderful. We enjoyed cultural things. We would get on a plane and fly to Chicago just to try a restaurant, because he was so into cooking and restaurants and Broadway shows and concerts and all cultural things. So it really was perfect for me at the time to get me back into life. However, eventually the bad times outweighed the good times.
Yeah.
So 2010, we broke up. And so it's been 13 years.
Okay. So a lot of the ladies that have left the show have said, this has changed the trajectory of how I'm going forward to meet someone. Do you sound like you were putting yourself out there? Did this change it for you? Were you kind of in a lull and like, I'm sick of guys, I'm not going out anymore? Did this change the trajectory of how you're going to go forward?
It's most certainly did. I'm so happy I did this, because I was getting myself into a rut. I was doing online dating from 2010. And I said to my friends just before I sent that video, and I said, if I ever do online dating again, shoot me. And so, yeah, I mean, it was awful. I know it works for some people, but the people I were meeting, it just didn't work for me. And I met people that were lying to me, not loyal to me, narcissistic people. And so unfortunately, it just, I was unhappy. And then I put myself into this rut where I was happy with my life. I didn't feel I needed a man to complete me, but I wanted a man. But I just shied away from it and just lived my life without a man in my life.
I have one more question with that. So Jody and I interviewed Jason Tartick, and he said the questions and the tests that you have to go through to be on the show, do you think that helped you kind of identify how you want to go forward, maybe even more than the show?
Absolutely. So before I even went on the show, I totally agree with that. It brought things out. We went through so many questionnaires and, psychological, and they knew more about me than I knew about myself. And actually just talking about it really was like therapy. You really learned about yourself and what you really wanted. And yeah, so just that preparation really opened me up again. And then being on the show, it really taught me that, love is out there and it's not too late. And being seen and chosen, that's what I said to the producers. I said, I was just so thankful. I cried in the hotel room because I couldn't believe I was there. Before we even met Gerry, before we got out of the limo, I said, I can't believe I'm here. And I said that to my producers, that thank you for seeing me. Thank you for choosing me. And I mean, there was 30,000 women that applied.
Oh, wow.
But I felt that
30,000 women?
30,000. And when I heard that in my hotel room, I thought someone sees either my personality, my outward beauty or inward beauty. I mean, I think our beauty from within comes out more, but my accomplishments in my life, someone appreciated me, and that's what brought me there. That meant so much to me before I even got out of the limo. So the rest was just, you know, a surreal dream and fantasy. But yes, I felt so much more confident in myself again.
Right.
Oh, I love that.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
So
beautiful again that somebody sees me for who I am.
Yeah.
So when you walked out of the limo that first day, feeling confident that you're chosen, you're one of, what were there, 22 women?
22.
22 women, and you 22 were selected out of 30,000 women. And after going through the questions, and I think of it as an interrogation, because I was just watching Special Forces and they try to break you down and find out what it is that really drives you, but it does give you much more self-awareness before going on a show like this. So when you walked out, when you got out of the limo, I want to know what your first thoughts were.
Okay. So I should have had more champagne in the limo.
Okay.
I should have, because I really am an extrovert. And I told them that I love being center of attention. So during the modeling shoots and our promo shoots at the hotel for the 4 days that we were there before we got out of the limo, that was the most exciting time for me. And they kept saying how well I did with that. And I actually got an applause at the end of one of the modeling shoots. I mean, I was in my element, and I said to them, I love being the center of attention. Well, you would never know that night one. You would never. So I was so nervous that my nerves took over. I just wanted words to come out of my mouth. I wanted to be able to speak because I had seen Gerry, you know, on Good Morning America. And I thought, oh, he's handsome, but he's nice and he's kind. And I wasn't used to that. Usually when they're handsome, there's arrogance involved and there's more. So that I was really nervous about meeting him. And then when the door opened and they said, okay, Peggy, you're out. The pavement, the uneven cobblestones and my 4-inch heels that I wasn't used to wearing because I hadn't been out in ages with, you know, getting dressed up like that. And they were wet. The cobblestones were all wet. And all I wanted to do was walk over to Gerry without falling. And so I was a nervous wreck. So by the time I got up to him and the bright lights are on you, I could barely speak. So my voice didn't come out like it should have. I was pretty nervous. But he took a hold of my hands and he really makes you feel comfortable. And he did. And we started talking. And so I felt so much better already. He's a really genuine, nice person. And then I went into the mansion and there was already one limo of women there. So they right away, you know, they welcome whoever's walking in next. And the whole evening was so wonderful. And we all bonded. As each limo arrived, we all bonded. And we're still bonded.
I love that part. And Jody and I were talking about that earlier. We said, maybe we don't need a bachelor on these shows. It's just these women.
I know. Because we're all friends.
Yeah, he's kind of the sidekick.
Yeah. We're actually making plans, whoever can do it on the East Coast. And actually, we have someone from Nashville and from the Midwest who want to join us in New York City to see the lights. And, you know, and New York is so beautiful.
Oh, yeah.
During the holidays. So, yeah, so that's what we're in the midst of planning right now.
Kim, you have to come out east. We can get on the train together and
go into the city. Oh, that would be awesome.
Yeah. So you were nervous. I mean, I can't even imagine. I did not think you were nervous, but I felt the nerves for everybody. But I can't even imagine your legs shaking so much on the wet cobblestones in 4-inch heels. Oh my goodness. That's
Yeah.
and trying to speak. And
Yeah.
like, did you even think that there are people watching me, or were you just so focused on getting to Gerry without falling?
That's what it was. I really didn't think about the cameras right then. I was just thinking, okay, don't step on a cobblestone that you're gonna, walk sideways. Yes, it was just more the walking. I didn't even notice actually the cameras at that point. So yeah.
And you didn't know any of the ladies. You didn't get to meet them beforehand, right? Everything was just right
No,
there. Okay.
yes, just until you got into your limo,
Mhm,
and there was 6 of us in the limo.
mhm.
But we weren't supposed to converse with each other about where you're from or
Oh,
this
Okay.
and that. It was just more about, being excited about what was going to happen. So
right.
we still didn't know about each other in the limo until we, progressed during the evening. So
That's awesome. So, Jody, go ahead. Did you want to ask her about the friends?
Well,
And
just really quickly, we wanted to just know what your family and friends thought of you going on the show. It sounds like you had a lot of support from them.
I really do. Unfortunately, I don't have immediate family. So my mother and my brother passed 8 years ago, and that was my immediate family. And my mom and I were best friends. And I talked to her before I left, and I knew how happy she would be for me. And I really was hopeful because her words always were and she knew, my dating issues when she passed away in 2015. And she said, Peggy, when God has the right person for him, he's going to put him in front of you. So I went there being hopeful that this might be my moment. I really felt like God gives us opportunities, and it's up to us to take that leap of faith. And I really felt in my heart that God's telling me, do this. And I went there very hopeful that Gerry might be the one. So my mother always had great wisdom, and I still kept that within me. And I don't have children. Unfortunately, I wasn't blessed with that. So I didn't have immediate family. However, my best friends that knew, they were so ecstatic that I was doing this, and they had my back, and they said, you know what, we just want you to have a good time. If you meet the love of your life, then that's a plus. But we love you, and we want you to just enjoy, because this experience doesn't happen for everyone. So
No,
no,
so and
this is a great blessing. So with that said, like going in thinking, yes, if you could find love of your life, that would be great. But when you didn't get the rose, like, do you immediately feel, do you feel embarrassed? Do you feel sad, mad, relieved, or like, what is your feeling when that happens?
Yeah. So, we're sad for each other who went home. Like the first night, we cried when they had to go home. And we were happy for the ones that got a rose. And the same thing happened on my evening. People were crying and sad for me. And, but I was happy for them at that same moment that they were moving on. And
did you feel that did you kind of read that in at that point with Gerry? Could you kind of say, oh, I figured we weren't
I kind of expected it that evening. The first evening we talked, and one of the producers even said you were locked on each other's eyes. You were really listening to each other. And I felt our conversation was really wonderful. However, you get to know each other. And I learned a few things that evening that were different from my lifestyle. And then as the weekend progressed, I learned more, that he didn't really want to travel outside the United States. And he came from a town of 600. And I had said to him, I live in a small coastal town in Connecticut, because I think of East Haven as small, and it's 28,000 people. So, so things were like clicking in my head. And I know in my time with him on Monday, I didn't have that look that he was looking for. I didn't look into his eyes the way some of the women were. And because I didn't feel that spark or that connection, and I'm sure he didn't either, because we were different people. And I've been blessed to travel all over the United States. And now I'm branching out worldwide, and I want somebody that wants to do that with me. And I don't think he wants to. So it was okay. I was kind of expecting that. However, you're disappointed because you want to stay because we were having so much fun.
That's so
We
cute.
were.
That
Yeah,
really,
they were
and
bonding.
that really comes off the screen. I mean, we
Yeah.
all felt it, that it was like a big sorority house, much different than The
It was.
Bachelor is, with all of the women. And, you have such a vibrancy about you, so full of life. And when you were
Yeah.
talking about, feeling like you were already a winner before even meeting Gerry, getting out of the limo. I mean,
It's
that's
huge.
you have this abundance mindset, and you want to travel and you want to take in the world. And
Mhm.
I think what happens in life as we get older is that, meeting somebody like Gerry, who is good looking and kind and all of those
Mhm.
other things. But as you mentioned, he didn't want to travel. Though that was what you probably realized then was, oh, that's a deal breaker for me. I want to
Yeah.
find somebody, right? Did you find that you got
Sure.
to know yourself even better, even though it was just the 2 episodes?
Yes, you really do, because especially at this age, first of all, because I've had divorce and basically widow because I was a fiance,
Mhm.
and both are terrible. Divorce is terrible, and losing someone suddenly like that is terrible. But we took things for granted back when you were younger. Joe was young and healthy. Never did we expect something like that to happen. So you think they're going to be there the rest of your life. So at this point in your life, you don't take things for granted. And you want to find that love that's really compatible, because I've spent so much time being independent and alone. I don't want to settle for somebody that doesn't want to do the things I want to do at this point, because I can do them on my own.
Yeah.
So I just would love a man that wants to do the same thing. I love to cook. I would love somebody that loves to cook with me. And while we're sharing a glass of wine, we're in the kitchen together. And there's certain things that at this point in my life, I'm really looking for. And there's a checklist. And I'm sure Gerry has his checklist, because you get to this point in your life, and why wouldn't we want someone that's going to do the same thing? So yes, you do really learn about yourself, about what you really want as you're speaking with someone.
Yeah, you realize that you deserve it.
And you
And
don't
we
want
do.
you don't want to waste your time on the ones that don't.
No, we don't have a lot of time.
No, we don't. We don't want to get this done.
We don't.
And I want Gerry to find that person as well. Someone that plays pickleball and golf. I have
Right.
golf clubs, but I can't hit the ball. And I have not done pickleball, but that's what his interests are.
Yes.
And I have
So-
different interests.
With that said, in the final 2, do either one of them play pickleball?
Yes, I believe Teresa does. I'm not
Mm-mm.
sure, but
Yeah. Okay.
I-
That's interesting.
or she golfs. I think she does one of them.
I think she
But
golfs.
yes, I think so.
Yeah.
And Leslie she has run marathons, and so has Gerry. So they have things that they can, be compatible with. Teresa's from a small town of 4,000 people, and Leslie's Midwestern.
Yeah.
So I think values and, their lifestyles mesh better than I get on a train and go into New York, or drive into Boston is nothing, just to get into the city. And so, yeah, it's totally different. And
No,
he did mention
You
that.
have a very vibrant personality, and it does seem like you love to be around people and lots going on.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So what do you think of these final 2 ladies?
I like both of them. Again, I think either one would probably be a good choice for Gerry. I'm leaning more towards, I think Teresa would be a better choice. I think,
Why?
and not being, saying something against her. I just think she is so, from the beginning, totally in love with Gerry.
Yes.
You could see it in her eyes. You could hear it from her comments. And I think she would do whatever Gerry wanted to do to make him happy. And Leslie, I think also really, really is in love with him as well. And Leslie's more of a vibrant person, more, her past is, maybe she's ready to, you know, be more settled into a small town. That I don't know, but I think they're both good choices for him. And I think the only reason Faith wasn't, I loved Faith, and I really, and Faith and I got along great because we were left behind on Sunday while they all went out on a group date. And Faith and I had the best time. And a lot of it you didn't see. They did post about the pizza man delivery and us with whipped cream in the mouth. But we did so much that afternoon. We had so much fun.
Oh, good.
But I think Faith's issue with Gerry, it was that she's on the other side of the world from him.
Yes.
And I, again, don't think he's ready to do that. You know, he's like
He's
that.
he sounds like a homebody, right?
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
So, Peggy, have you had anybody sliding into your DMs after this that you've talked to, or?
I have. I've
Yeah.
had a few. Yes, I have. I've had a couple of scammers, and I've had a few, but you know, I'm cautious with the scammers, and but no one that is truly interesting me at this point. So,
okay, Jody, one more question. So, do you think that you would want to be the Golden Bachelorette? Because you have that personality.
I would love it. Absolutely. You know, it's funny because everyone has been talking about that, and it's usually someone that's been on the show a lot longer than myself, someone that has exposure to the nation. And, you know, because everyone has seen these women now for quite a while, and so they have their favorites. They don't remember the people from the first night or the second rose ceremony. And but yes, if I had that exposure, or I would love that. Absolutely.
Well, we will tag you all over the place once this video goes up. So we will do whatever we can. And I'm just curious about this thing, and not part of our questions, but so we live in bordering towns. We live right next to each other. And so do you feel like a celebrity where you live?
Oh my gosh, it's so crazy. Anyway, it's a small market. So I'm checking out, and the cashier says, wait, you have to wait. I have to get the manager, and there's people behind me. And I said, no, that's okay. She says, no, he loves you. I have to get him. He will be so angry if I didn't bring him up here. So things like that are embarrassing. And I went for an ultrasound, and the nurse said, did I do your ultrasound before? And I said, no. And I knew I hadn't had an ultrasound. And she said, how do I know you? And then I said, I'm on TV. And she said, you're Peggy from Haven. And so, yeah, this is what happens. And the dental office that I work in, they said to me, oh my gosh, they said, if we ever put your picture up, you're busy now. We'll never get these patients in. And so somebody called at 8 o'clock one evening, because they're open till 9. And one of the people up front said, oh my gosh, we got a call at 8:30 and says, does Peggy work there? They want to come there. And so it's just so funny. Yes, I do feel like a celebrity.
I love it.
Yeah,
which is
great.
nice.
You deserve it. I mean, you really put yourself out there.
Yeah.
And I think about, you know, putting yourself out there, not knowing how far you're going to make it. Was there ever a time while you were on the show where you said, why did I do this? Why am I putting myself out there like that? No, that's great.
Not at all. Because each experience that you have in life just makes you grow and grow stronger. And I was so ecstatic. If I was treated like a princess. From the moment you get there, you have a red carpet rolled out for you. And they gave me a Badgley Mishka designer gown the first night that I got out of the limo.
Oh,
I felt like a princess. I mean, you just felt so special that the emotions, I was so overwhelmed to be there. that I did. I cried a lot because I couldn't believe I was part of it. So I was happy for as long as it lasted. And the bonds that I have forever, with these women, that makes it even
right. You would have never met them if you didn't put
No.
yourself out there.
And you know what's so nice is that I have a lot of women friends that are married and have a significant other. All of us women are in the same boat.
Yeah.
So I have travel friends now, and I have people to do things on weekends and someone to talk to on a weekend because they don't have a spouse. And so it's really nice, that
Peggy, whoever gets you is going to be a lucky man. You have such a vibrant personality, but also just a few things you said about what your mom said to you and just the joy that you took from just the experience. Like, you have a great attitude.
You do.
Thank you so much.
I mean, beautiful inside and outside. Now I know why they picked you. You know why you were selected to be part of the group.
I did wonder that while I was sitting there that evening, because we're there, for hours and hours. And so you really get to talk to all 22 women waiting for your turn to talk with Gerry. And I wondered at one point, I said, am I here? And I mean, I have had accomplishments. I've, done things. I've moved to Australia to work and set up a dental program there. I did dental missions, have my own organization. So I have done things in my own right. But these women were so highly educated and over the top. They've, been in so many outlets and writing books and 3 master's degrees and, all these things. And I felt great in my life that I was educated and did accomplish a lot. But when you met all these other women, I did at first, I didn't lose confidence because I'm happy with who I am. But I was like, how did I get picked? So that did cross my mind because these women were really, really special.
Well, so are you, I can see. So I know you just celebrated, we were talking before that you celebrated your 70th birthday. That's, I think I was DMing you or something or trying to get you at the time. So happy birthday.
Thank you.
And so what's next for you?
Oh, you know what? I don't have a plan. I just take each day and I just enjoy each day. I wake up every day and thank God for another day. And I feel great at 70. It's a number. I have never felt that age was, anything else but a number. And I intend to stay that. My mother worked till she was 86. And that's why I work just a couple of days a week because I enjoy it. And I have a great energy level. And so just enjoy each day. And again, because life is so short and we all know that. And that's why I just don't take anything for granted anymore. I don't take anyone or anything. I say I love you to my friends. And we just have to live each day. I do have a trip planned back to Australia in May. I go there every 3 years to meet the friends that became family when I lived there for a year and a half.
Was this for the dental mission or did you just?
No, this was a dental. Back in 1995, I went there for a year and a half. They just recognized dental hygiene in 1991. So they only had one school for dental hygienists. I always wanted to see Australia. So I went ahead to do this. It was a lot of red tape to get there. Even though they needed hygienists, the government made it so hard for you. And so I was the first hygienist in Northern Queensland, and I stayed there a year and a half, and I set up a whole dental hygiene program, and they never had a recall system. People never went regularly for teeth cleanings. And so when I left, there was a 5-page waiting list of people waiting to get in. They hired 2 women from Canada to take my place. And it was just the greatest. Friends said, if you stayed there any longer, you could have run for mayor because the people loved having a dental hygienist. They loved the education about their mouth. And so that was the best experience. And the woman I worked with, and she worked in the front office. Her and I became best friends, and her family became my family. So her grandchildren called me Auntie Peggy, and Braden, the firstborn, is getting married in May, so I'm going for his wedding. So
Oh, that's so fun.
yes, and they've been here
Wow.
to visit me. So it's been family, yes, since 1995.
Wow. I just adore you. We have to meet for coffee. Kim, did you have a last question for Peggy?
No, I think we kind of covered them all. I mean, I have a lot more questions, but we just,
Oh,
I can't keep going.
We were digging for a little dirt about Gerry, but it sounds like he was a nice guy. So
Yeah.
we'll let it go that he was a nice guy. And
yes, he was.
he was a fool for letting you go because we love you. And thank you so much for being on We're Golden. We really appreciate it.
I really appreciate you asking me to be. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. And for everybody listening, please share this with all the people that you know watch The Golden Bachelor. And until next time, stay golden, everybody.